Your Excellency, my dear sister Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, distinguished government officials, esteemed business leaders, ladies and gentlemen, hamjambo. Assalamu alaikum. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to join you here in Dar es Salaam for this Tanzania-Kenya Business Forum, a forum that reflects our shared resolve to translate our strong bilateral ties into practical, results-oriented and driven economic partnerships that create opportunity, drive trade and investment, and deliver real benefits for our people. I commend the rich and candid engagements that this forum has had since morning, as we have been ably informed. Your deliberations have not only identified concrete opportunities to deliver deeper collaboration, but have also clearly highlighted the practical constraints that must be addressed decisively and conclusively. Your Excellency, the Kenya-Tanzania partnership is anchored in deep historical ties and a shared vision for prosperity. Today, that partnership is evolving into a dynamic economic relationship driven by strong trade, investment, and strong people-to-people connection. Within the framework of the East African community, we are demonstrating that regional integration is not merely an aspiration, it is achievable. According to the latest quarterly statistics bulletin by the East African Community Secretariat, total East Africa trade increased significantly from $124 billion in 2024 to $156 billion in 2025, representing a 25% growth. Intra-EAC trade grew even faster by 28%, rising from $15.1 billion to $19.3 billion over the same period, though it still accounts for only 12% of the region's total trade. Our bilateral trade remains strong and steadily growing, reaching 860 million shillings in 2025, a slight reduction from $950 million in 2024, with near balanced flows on both sides. These numbers reflect deepening complementarities, value chains between our two economies. Let me expound on this. We lost a bit of trade, close to $100 million between 2024 and 2025 because of non-tariff barriers. And I am very happy that in this meeting, business people from across the divide are speaking from the same script. Listening to Paul Russo, listening to Heather of Amazons, listening to my good friend from Taifa Gas, my good friend Aziz, they are speaking a common language, a language of East Africa. The reason why we are losing trade, we should have crossed by now the $1 billion mark. But instead of making progress, we are making progress in the opposite direction. And it is because there are some people, bureaucrats at the borders, who are erecting roadblocks and creating barriers to our businessmen and women, and reducing the trade between our countries. I want to tell us that it is said you cannot share poverty, but you can share wealth. We must allow our business people to create wealth, because we have an opportunity to share what we have. We cannot share what we don't have. And it is very important, and it is the reason why I have undertaken this state visit on the invitation of my sister, President Samia Suluhu. Not because I lack something to do in Kenya. Not because I am a tourist. Na sijakuja hapa matembezi. I have come here because we have serious business between our two countries, and we share a common destiny. And I like the statements that have been made here. We want to recalibrate our relationship. We want to re-engineer our engagement, because, as has been said here, Kenyans are not enemies of Tanzanians, and Tanzanians are not enemies of Kenyans. Our enemy is poverty, unemployment, and lack of development. And we can confront this enemy together. We will succeed together. The sooner and the faster we understand that, the better for all of us, and the sooner we find the solution. Look at what has happened in just 2 years. We have investors taking up opportunity in Kenya to the tune of $300 million in just 2 years. And they are not just taking up opportunity in Kenya. They are using Kenyan financial institutions to acquire those businesses. That is how collaboration works. Instead of complaining, look for the opportunity and take it up. Let me give you an example. When Amazons decided to buy shares and take over Bamburi Cement, some business people in Kenya came to complain to me, why are you allowing these Tanzanians to buy Bamburi Cement? This is our blue chip company. And I asked them, you didn't complain when Bamburi was owned by the French. How does it become a problem if it is owned by a neighbor in Tanzania? So are you telling me it was okay for the company to be owned by a French company, and you have a problem if it is owned by a Tanzanian national, an East African, a neighbor? This is the kind of mentality we want to kill. We want to make sure that what is Tanzanian is Kenyan, And what is Kenyan is Tanzanian. Ninyi mnanielewa? Investment flows are equally strong. Kenyan investments in Tanzania now exceed $1.7 billion, spanning financial services, manufacturing, telecommunication, and retail, while also positioning Kenya as a dependable source of industrial input for Tanzania. Tanzanian investments in Kenya, now over $330 million, are on the rise, particularly in tourism, manufacturing, energy, and agriculture. Together, these investments are driving job creation, facilitating skills transfer, and strengthening industrial capacity in both countries. Beyond trade and capital, our people remain the backbone of this partnership. The free movement of people, labor, services, and capital continues to unlock innovation, enterprise, and shared opportunity. Despite this progress, we must acknowledge that we are still underperforming relative to our full potential. The gap lies not in ambition, but in execution. Persistent non-tariff barriers, including delays at our borders, non-harmonized standards, and restricted market access, continue to impose real costs on our business. And I am very happy that today my sister President Samia Suluhu and I have agreed and given instructions and goodwill from the highest levels of government to our officials that all the remaining non-tariff barriers, and we have counted them, they are about 20, they should be worked out and agreed before the end of this month of May. So that we can provide a seamless opportunity for our business people to work. Looking ahead, there is urgent need to enhance the building blocks of an efficient business ecosystem through infrastructure and connectivity, which are pivotal in unlocking our shared competitiveness across all sectors. Efficient transport networks, modernized ports, and robust digital systems will continue to be more consequential than ever before in lowering trade costs and amplifying regional value chains and potential. Ladies and gentlemen, first, we must strengthen the physical backbone of our integration, from the seamless linkage of our standard gauge railways to greater complementarity between the ports of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam, and the transformative 400 kilowatt Kenya-Tanzania power interconnector is such one example. These are critical infrastructure projects that will drive economic growth and deepen our regional integration. Just for your information, the gas pipeline between Tanzania and the port of Mombasa, we signed off today for a feasibility to be undertaken and the necessary construction to be done so that we can connect the gas fields that you have here in Tanzania to Mombasa for us to get gas from this country and use it in Kenya to power our development. So I am sure Taifa Gas, Lake Gas, and all the other investors from Tanzania in our gas ecosystem, we have now sanctioned our two ministers to proceed with the necessary details for us to get that into action. The power interconnector alone, spanning over 500 kilometers, has synchronized our electricity grids and unlocked opportunities for expanded regional power trade. Reliable and affordable energy is the fuel that drives industrialization, and this project speaks to what coordinated regional action can achieve. Second, we must build a seamless financial and digital ecosystem. Our banks are already regional champions. Our mobile money platforms are global benchmarks. The next step is clear: real-time, cross-border payments, interoperable fintech systems, and deeper capital market integration to unlock the digital economy at scale. I am looking forward to having a conversation on how we can finally actualize the mobile one area network. As you know, phone calls today from Kenya to Uganda and Rwanda are considered local telephone calls. There is still a problem. We still consider a phone call to Tanzania that it is a foreign call. Foreign to where? You know? Really, the people in that space, our investors in the mobile space between Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, including Rwanda, we should harmonize that space. We want a telephone call from Kenya to Tanzania to be local. We want a telephone call from Tanzania to Kenya to be a local call, because we are one people. Third, we must industrialize at scale together. Tanzania's strength in raw materials and natural resources, combined with Kenya's financial ecosystem, represents a powerful competitive advantage. Together, we can build integrated value chains in agriculture, pharmaceuticals, construction materials, and much, much more. And fourth, we must empower the private sector to lead. Government's role is to de-risk, enable, and accelerate. Your role as business leaders is to invest, innovate, and integrate. A target of $500 million in new cross-border investments and $1 billion in trade over the next 3 years is ambitious, but entirely achievable if we act with purpose and alignment. Arising from this forum, we are making clear, actionable commitments. On non-tariff barriers, I have said we must transition from seemingly endless discussion to execution. Our governments will establish a joint mechanism to eliminate all outstanding barriers, publish a time-bound resolution plan, and implement a continuous monitoring system to ensure new barriers are addressed swiftly and conclusively. On private sector engagement, we fully support the establishment of a Tanzania-Kenya Joint Business Council as the central platform for structured collaboration, and I'm very happy that the business communities have signed an MOU here to facilitate. Through sector-specific working groups, we will ensure continuous engagement and translate private sector priorities into investments, partnerships, and measurable outcomes. Beyond the Joint Business Council, we will institutionalize the Tanzania-Kenya Business Forum as an annual platform to review progress, track implementation of commitments, and unlock new opportunities. The forum we have had here today, and I want to encourage the private sector. If you want to make things easy, get partners from Kenya into your business and get partners from Tanzania into your business. That way, you will have the ear of government on both sides, and we will unlock all these transactions much more easily. What we are offering is that this forum we are having today in Tanzania, let us have it next year in Kenya, and the following year in Tanzania, and the following year in Kenya, until we make this market one seamless market. Finally, these measures will complement ongoing efforts under the East African Community, including the single customs territory and one-stop border posts, which are already reducing border crossing times from days to hours, lowering logistics costs, and enhanced predictability of businesses. The opportunities ahead, ladies and gentlemen, are immense. From agriculture and agro-processing to manufacturing, energy, tourism, and digital economy. Our two nations are uniquely positioned to build integrated, competitive, and globally relevant value chains. To the business leaders gathered here today, our moment is now. We must seize the abundant opportunities before us by forging partnerships and investing boldly. We reaffirm our steadfast resolve to providing a stable, predictable, and enabling environment anchored on regulatory clarity, investor protection, and private sector-led growth. Together, we are building two separate markets into an integrated economic system, and we are doing so not as competitors, but as co-creators of shared prosperity. If we act with unity, with resolve, and with purpose, I have no doubt that the Kenya-Tanzania partnership will ultimately stand as a continental model of what African integration can achieve: practical, impactful, and private sector driven. Let me conclude with the remarks that was made by the gentleman who prayed for us. That gentleman who prayed read a verse that I am very familiar about in Psalms 133. Correct? Yes. And in that verse, he told us, that verse says how good and how pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. That is the unity of purpose we are called upon here. And as he read that verse, I was seeing uhuru na umoja. We got uhuru, but what happened to umoja? That is what the prayer man was telling us. Unity. And I want to add that if he had continued reading that verse, in verse 3, it says, where there is unity, God commands a blessing. So that is the future. Thank you very much. God bless you, and see you soon in Nairobi. Asanteni sana.